So my name is Maria. I recently, not recently, but I attended St. Mary's. I graduated with a bachelor's in finance and risk management and international business. After that, I got hired here at Central Electric as a staff accountant. So everything I know about construction has come from working here. Um, and just talking about cost management is just more going to be towards the construction side, small businesses, especially since Central Electric is a small business, family owned, and we might mainly focus on the San Antonio area. Um, and that's just by preference, not really just, we really like to focus just around the San Antonio area so that it kind of provides all of our employees with a good home work balance. So just a little bit of a background there. So now I'm just going to get started with cost management. And first off, I'm just going to just go through some basics, just because these are kind of going to come throughout the whole presentation. So just keeping it simple. Once your money comes in, you have your cost, and that's what affects your revenue. So the importance of cost management is honestly just making sure that your costs are going where they need to be, so that they're not affecting your revenue in the long run. Sorry. For this presentation, I just kept it simple. In this scenario, we're just going to be within your company. Let's just say your main business is projects. So you go out, you bid projects, you get them, and that's basically where your income comes from. And let's just say you have a small little office that you have in the middle of the city, just trying to keep up with all your administration work, and where you kind of use as a home base. And one word that I'm going to be using a lot is going to be overhead costs. So overhead are just running and operating costs. They're just related towards managing your business. So they're not really affecting your main income. They're just costs that come towards making sure that everything is running perfectly for your business. So now learning what to manage. So you kind of have to break each section within your company and seeing what it affects and how it affects it. So here for your project side, it would affect your income and it affects your cost. In order to make money, you have to spend money. So that's where that's going to be affected towards whatever you, skill or trade that you perform. So, and then for your office, I just labeled it as overhead costs, because it's not directly related towards your income, but it'll affect your costs. So whenever people would talk about cost management, it's more like your cash management. As soon as the money comes in, where is it going to go out, and how are you going to handle it so that it basically provides you with the revenue that you need to continue running your business. So a lot of people tend to think that when it comes to cost management, or when, let's just say for economical reasons, you need to start cutting back, they just start cutting away and slicing away different sections within their department or their company, just trying to save money. But cost management isn't about cutting costs, it's about maximizing your current resources so that you're minimizing your costs as your business goes along. So instead of going in and seeing, oh, I need to start laying off people, no, it's what do I have now and how can I make it work for me so that I'm not having to overspend on someone or on something that I can get more use out of in the future. So keeping this in mind, now we're going to go into projects and kind of break it up a little bit. So within your projects, you have to estimate. On the construction side, we're always estimating for our projects, trying to see what we can get so that all your employees stay busy, right? That's the main goal, keeping everyone busy. So our estimating is what affects our income. And after we decide, hey, this is what we're gonna bid, and this is, let's just say we're trying to get a school, we say we can do this job at 10 grand, that's gonna be our estimating. Um, and after that, we go in and we see, okay, so what's our budget? We're gonna have 10 grand coming in, but I think I can complete this project using 6,500, right? And then once that job gets started, you need to start tracking your progress. So making sure that you are staying within budget and making sure that everything is running smoothly and correctly, um, so that you can kind of guarantee that you have your profit at the end of the project. So that's where your project review comes, where you actually see how accurate you were to what you had planned for the project at the beginning of your estimating time. So your estimating becomes very important if your only source of income is, like we said before, projects, because then you have to ensure that when you're estimating, you're covering enough for your project cost, your overhead cost, and then still ensuring that you create a profit at the end of the project. I know it's kind of like regardless of what your business makes, at the end of the day, we're all in the business of making money. So just ensuring that you have like a little safety net when you're estimating or when you're prepping for a project, it'll give you that safety net so that at the end you kind of have like a leeway to ensure that you have some profit on the side. So the importance of an aggregate bid. For this section, excuse me, I'm going to jump out of this real quick just to kind of show you. So the beautiful thing about PowerPoint is that you can actually kind of talk to it with Excel. And what really helps is just kind of measuring yourself and creating like this goal for yourself. So if you know a project is going to cost you a certain amount, and you can kind of estimate everything else that you're going to needing for that project, you can go in and create these charts to kind of start measuring yourself and making sure that your performance is going the way you want it to be. If it's not, you can kind of get like you can just start punching in numbers. If you expect something to completely change as you go along, you can go in and you can start measuring what it's going to do to the rest of your business. So just knowing that you have different tools that you can start measuring your business with is helpful. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, just a common Excel spreadsheet and would help. So, oh, sorry about that. So your budget is basically going to be your spending plan. And this kind of you create for yourself to kind of ensure that at the end of the project, you do have a profit to make. And then it's also just a really great performance measure. So at the beginning of the project, you kind of have to set goals for yourself, see what you want to, what the end result you at the end of the project should be. And just creating a budget is just a great way for you to kind of go back and review and see how you actually perform. So the next would be tracking. What we do is we do a lot of site visits. All the project managers are always out there trying to make sure that everything that was planned for the week is getting completed. If not, what can we do to better it, just so that everything is getting taken care of right then and there, instead of when the problem becomes bigger and then it starts really affecting your costs. Having meetings is great for communication. A lot of the times when something does go wrong, communication can be key towards fixing all your problems and getting everyone on the same page. Another great example is reports, just like I showed you in the previous slides. Just keeping those small reports going and seeing where you want to go and how you're actually gonna get there are just really, it's really great, especially for having like an image to look at. A lot of the times you might think that you're going in the right direction, but until you actually start seeing solid numbers, then you're actually going to get the actual picture that's going on. That way, at the end of the project, you're not really surprised at the way things went. Um, so just keeping track of what you feel is important to you would help you. So then at the end, you do your project review. This is where you actually go through each step that you previously did, and you kind of see what went right, what went wrong, what could have I done to prevent X from happening, or how could I have ensured that this went smoothly, or this was perfect. Why did it go so perfect, and how can I continue making this happen towards all my other future projects, right? So this is where it kind of comes handy with you keeping track throughout the whole cycle of your projects, just so you know every, just so you know what you can change or what has to keep occurring throughout your projects. So next is costs. There are two certain costs that will affect your cost management. Just a moment. Sorry, talking a lot. So these costs are your fixed costs and your variable costs. Your fixed costs are just costs that remain the same regardless of your output. So that would be like your rent, utilities, insurance, things that you have to pay regardless if you work or not. And then variable costs, they're just costs that vary based on your output. So an example that I put in there was labor. If you use more of your technicians to get a certain work done, you're gonna have to pay them more. If you use more material, you're obviously gonna have to pay more for those. The good thing about variable costs, though, is that you can review, you can budget these, and you can just go along and see how you're going to use them based on the need of your company. With fixed costs, you can't really do that. But the good thing about fixed costs is that they're known costs. So you know that they're going to be coming up. They won't kind of hit you like a surprise like variable costs would. So then your overhead costs. Just one thing I wanted to mention from here. So going through your costs and expenses, regardless if it's through your projects or your overall costs, being able to recognize which one is coming would help you like better budget yourself. If you know fixed costs are going to be coming at the beginning of the month or in the middle of the month, it'll kind of help you when it comes towards your variable costs, so that you can plan them better throughout the month. One thing that would help with variable cost is just getting connections with your vendors, especially if there's current vendors that you use repeatedly. Build connections, see how they can help you and how you can help them. We do that a lot here. There are certain vendors that we use, and we focus hardly on building connections with them, and we're always constantly trying to see how we can make a better deal for ourselves and for them. So that helps a lot at the end of the month when it comes towards us taking discounts with them, or if we are really in a jam, your vendors really start to come through because of that connection that you built with them. And it's a great reward to have for you and for them. So that always helps. And then with your overhead, again, the whole point is maximizing your current resources to minimize your costs. So how much are you actually spending towards running your business? And is it the amount that is necessary, or is there somewhere where you can actually start improving some inefficiencies? Maybe it's just some training that your employees might need to kind of get them to where you want them to perform. If you don't really feel like you're getting the most out of your money, that it probably means that there's more that can be going on between you and your employees, or your processes that can help kind of lessen your costs. and increase basically their output. So salary staff, they're basically a fixed cost. You know who they are, you know how much you expect them to do, and they know, and you know what your costs are going to be. Your hourly staff, that's that's going to be your variable cost. The more that they work, the more you're going to have to pay them. Um, One thing that does help with hourly staff, though, is it's a huge indicator of inefficiencies. If your employees are working more than 40 hours a work week, you can always go in there and see why. A lot of the time, it could just be work overload. Maybe they just have way too much going on, or their deadlines might be all packed up into a certain deadline that might put them behind, and might end up costing you more. Um, Maybe their processes just aren't as defined as they should be to kind of help them accomplish their work faster and better. And then another one might be training. Maybe a lot of the times you might think your employees know what to do, but sometimes a quick training refresher helps to kind of improve and move things along with them. Um, and I mean that, and that's something that you have to constantly keep an eye out. When I first started here, I always thought, okay, everyone must be doing everything for a reason, right? No one wants to go to work and make their lives harder. Um, so I always thought everything was fine and dandy, but um, at the end of the month, when we have to start paying our vendors, I started seeing a lot of lag time. Um, Things weren't being prepped on time, they weren't being approved on time, so we weren't able to pay our vendors on time, or we were struggling to meet those discount deadlines. Um, and um, and all it took for me to resolve this problem was sitting down with my staff and talking through the whole process, seeing who was responsible for what, when were things getting done, and what was the actual deadline that we all had in mind. Well, it actually turned out that everyone kind of had their own little process going on with their own deadlines that kind of contradicted with everyone else's. So just being able to talk to them and seeing how their daily routine was, we were able to um, basically have this whole process scheduled and throughout the whole month instead of a 2 week jam pack that we had. Um, so then everyone had their own time to process um, all these invoices that had to get approved. Then they were able to prep them like with um, more time than they had ever thought they could ever have. And then we were actually being able to prepare everything on time, get those vendor discounts. And at the end of the day, they were happier, we were happier, and our vendors were a lot happier. So just a quick conversation with your staff can go a long way. So don't be afraid of just going in there and digging in and seeing what they have to say. Um, so another thing is office supplies. A lot of people might not think that, it's just pens and paper. It can't really be much, but it does add up, especially if they're just if the usage for it isn't there. Um, um, and a lot of the times, an easy way to do it is to budget it. See how much you actually use a month, and that's how much you should be purchasing. Buying in bulk does seem like it might save you money, but if your income isn't kind of offsetting your cost, it might not be a good idea for you. And then another thing is building maintenance. If you do have a building, you do have to pay more for utilities, rent, and so on and so forth. So just kind of managing your cost and how much you actually want to put into all of these overhead items that are just not going to um, that are not going to increase your income, basically. So just a quick overview from everything that I just spoke about. So one of the major keys is just knowing what affects your income and what affects your costs. That way you can start seeing if anything, you can start building like a list and seeing what can my company cut off and still function with. And I'm not saying like automatically start cutting things, but whenever, if there's any internal or economical reasons that'll start affecting your income, then you can start managing your cost a bit more, or you know where to go so that you're not panicking when things do go south. So, and another thing is your income has to cover your costs. So don't forget that if there's only one way that you're making money, there are a bunch of ways that you have to spend that money as well. So just keep that in mind. And then budgets, don't be afraid of budgets. They do take a little bit of time creating and keeping track of them. But at the end of the day, they're great for seeing how you actually performed and how you can get better or how great you have been performing. And that's actually a really great way to communicate with your team to show them, hey, we've been doing great, or hey, we need to improve a little bit more on this. And it can go a long way. Another thing is understanding your fixed and variable costs, just so that you can plan them out a little bit better. We're all going to have them, but it's the way that you handle them that's going to actually affect you differently. So another way is managing your overhead. So always look for ways to increase efficiencies, even if it's just a quick talk, or even if it's just a quick review of certain reports or anything that you might want to keep track of. And lastly, always review. There are always things that you can be improving on. Don't just settle for this is the way that I'm going to do it. This is the way that I learned how to do it. This is how I'm going to continue to do it. A lot of the times you can get stuck doing certain things that are actually going to start affecting your costs. So cost management, it's basically another word for cash management. As soon as your income comes in, how are you going to be using that money for your advantage? It's often like if your company is constantly growing, especially if you're a new business, you're going to be seeing that, hey, you're not having a problem with income coming in. So you're like, yes, we have money to do this and we have money to do that. But as soon as your growth kind of starts to level out and flatten out, that's when your cost management skills are really going to come into play, because then you won't have that room to kind of start, I guess, experimenting with your costs and seeing how it can affect your business. So just knowing beforehand where your money is going and where it really needs to be will help you as your company continues to grow. And we do have a couple more minutes. And just again, one of the huge things is build your connection with your vendors. If you use a lot of vendors, it's a great way to save money and build connections. And honestly, that connection is going to save you along the way, and it will actually help your growth. So don't be afraid to go out there and talk to your vendors, take them out to lunch, see if there can be a partnership built between them, and it'll be a great opportunity for everyone who's involved. So I think that's all I have to say. I did want to time for Q&A.
So we don't have any questions yet. So if anyone has any questions for Maria about anything that she mentioned today, put those in the chat and I can help you with those. In the meantime, did you have maybe a contact that that our attendees can possibly reach you at if they have any follow-up questions?
I actually wrote it on the notes section. I don't know if you were able to see it, but it's just maria@centralelectricsa.com.
Perfect.
And you can always reach me at 210-433-9999. That's our company number. So you can always just call and ask for Maria.
Okay, perfect. We have a question. Would you be able to share spreadsheet templates?
Yes, what kind of spreadsheet templates? I mean, it all depends on what you want to measure. So just getting a list of and seeing what's important for you and what's important for keeping track for your business is going to help you determine what reports you should be building. So if you want to go ahead and send me an email or call me and just if you want to let me know, hey, this is what I do and this is where I want to be by certain year, then I can help you with what kind of reports you need. But you won't know unless you have a goal.
And I think they meant a budget spreadsheet.
Yes. And you can also go through Excel. They have a bunch of pre-made templates as well. They have forecasting, budgeting, just simple templates as well. But yes, I can share those with you if you want to go ahead and send me a quick email.
Awesome. Okay, we have another question from Sarah Navarro. Do you have a management program, software, or cloud-based that you would recommend?
That's a little bit more trickier because it all depends on what you need, especially when it comes towards getting a software package for your business. We currently use Computeries for our accounting software, um, but but we also have a bunch of other separate softwares that help us do different parts of our business. So we have a different estimating software. We have our project managers have their own software. Um, and that's just because there was different sections that we really needed that just that a certain software could not provide. So we're currently looking into like getting an accounts payable system, but we've been researching all these accounts payable softwares for over a year, and that's just because once you start getting a software and you start spending all this time getting all your information in there, you don't want 6 months into that software that it's actually not doing what you wanted it to do, or it's not tracking what you wanted it to track. It has happened to us before, and then we have to spend more time now to look into new software just because we didn't take that initial commitment at the beginning when we were researching. So always be careful of those. Always take your time. Don't be pressured when you're trying to purchase something. Make sure you have a list of everything that you want and everything that you need this software to do. Just because whenever you are talking to these salespersons, they're always going to try to tell you that this does do whatever you want it to do. And apparently all software packages are basically magic at some point for them. So just always take your time with them. I think the longer and the more time you spend with that sales representative, the more you get to know about that company as well. So just take your time.
Awesome. Okay, well, if there are no more questions, this presentation will be recorded and available for our attendees to go back and rewatch, as well as the presentation. But I just want to say thank you, Maria, for taking some time out of your day to talk about this for our conference. We really appreciate it. Our next session will begin at 9:45. So thank you again, Maria, and thank you everyone for watching.
Having me.
Thank you.
Bye.